All right, guys, here we are, lesson 5-2. And to make it a little bit more exciting when we start, let's get into this.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
All right, in all seriousness, adding and subtracting like fractions. The rule when you're adding and subtracting like fractions is simple. In order to add or subtract with the same denominator, you write the sum or difference of the numerators over the denominator. Like fractions means that those fractions have the same denominator. In other words, when you're solving, you are going to add or subtract the numerators and the denominator stays the same. So the example I gave is 4/9 plus 1/9 equals 5/9. The same concept would apply if you're dealing with subtraction. 9/11 minus 2/11 would be 7/11. If we're dealing with variables, in words, A over C plus B over C is the same as adding the numerators and keeping them over C. However, your denominator, C, can never be equal to 0. If we are adding like fractions, here's an example. One day you studied math for 3/4 of an hour and English for 3/4 of an hour. What was the total time that you studied both subjects? So we studied math for 3/4. We studied English for 3/4. You add your numerators, so 3 plus 3 over 4, that is equal to 6 over 4. You simplify, that's improper. So remember, going from improper to mixed, numerator divided by denominator. 4 goes into 6 once, 2 left over, denominator stays the same, and I simplify. 1 over 1/2 hour. So you studied for 1.5 hours total. Subtracting like fractions. Again, you have a negative 4/7 minus 2/7. You write the difference of the numerators over the denominator. So I'm showing up here a negative 4 minus 2 over 7. Now you're going to subtract. A negative 4 minus 2 equals a negative 6 over 7, which is equal to me writing my negative that way. And there's your answer. In example B, I have 1/10 minus a negative 3/10. Remember, when you're subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding a positive. So if I'm subtracting a negative 3/10, that is the same as me adding 3/10. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as 1/10 plus 3/10. And now when I add them, I add my numerators. 1 plus 3 over 10, which is going to be equal to 4 over 10, and simplify 2/5. There's your answer. Complete these checkpoint problems. Press pause on the video. When you're done, turn it back on, start playing. I'm going to give you the answers right now. Number 1, the answer is 5/8. Number 2, the answer is 2/3. Number 3, the answer is negative 1/3. And number 4, the answer is 2/3. Make sure you have shown on a separate piece of paper how you reached those answers. Example 3, adding and subtracting mixed numbers. In this problem, I gave you the steps first. You're going to take all of your mixed numbers and write them as improper first. Then you're going to add or subtract the difference of the numerators of the denominator. You're going to add and then subtract, simplify, and then write the fraction as a mixed number. So 5 and 5/9 plus 2 and 7/9, I already converted to improper. 5 and 5/9 becomes 50/9. 2 and 7/9 is 25 over 9. And now we're going to solve these the same way we did the ones prior. I take my numerators and I show that I'm adding them together. 50 plus 25 over 9. That is going to be equal to 75 over 9. But now I have to simplify. What number goes into both of them evenly? I can divide both by 3 to simplify first. 75 divided by 3 is 25. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And now I have a simpler improper fraction that I now need to convert into mixed. I know 3 goes into 25 8 times. And since 3 times 8 is 24, that leaves me with 1 left over, my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. In example B, we're going to do the same thing. I showed how I took the mixed numbers and I made them improper. And now I'm going to show the difference. I'm going to take my numerators, which is negative 136 minus 86, and that gets written over our denominator of 13. I'm running out of room to the right here, so I'm going to write underneath. A negative 136 minus 86 becomes a negative 222 over 13. That's improper, so I'm going to make that mixed. 13 goes into 222 17 times with 1 left over. My denominator stays the same. And the pen was giving me a hard time there. So it ends up being 17 1/3, but you have to remember that you're dealing with a negative sign, and that negative carries over to the whole mixed number. So your final answer is negative 17 1/3. For this checkpoint, again, in a couple of minutes, hit pause, do the work on a separate piece of paper, write your answer down here, and I'm going to give you the answers, so make sure you press pause as you are solving the problems. Press play when you're ready to check your answers. For number 5, the correct answer is 4 1/2. Number 6, the correct answer is negative 3 1/3. And number 7, the correct answer is negative 9 5/7. In example 4, we're going to be simplifying variable expressions. Same concept. Just because we now have variable expressions instead of whole numbers, we're still going to follow the same rules. As long as the denominator is the same, you're going to add your numerators. So 3a over 20 plus 5a over 20 is the same as 3a plus 5a over 20. When I'm going to add, that's going to give me 8a over 20. And what you want to do now is you want to look for a factor that goes into both of them evenly. And I know that they're both even, so they can be divided by 2, but I'm going to want to look for their largest factor. I know they're both divisible by 4. So if I divide 8 by 4, that leaves me with 2. And if I divide 20 by 4, that leaves me with 5. So when I rewrite this to simplify, that leaves me with 2a over 5. And that's your final answer. In example B, same concept, but now you are subtracting a negative. So when you are subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding a positive. So what I did over here is I rewrote the equation. Instead of a negative 8 over 3b minus a negative 2 over 3b, it's negative 8 over 3b plus 2 over 3b. And now what I want to show is that I am combining my numerators, which can be rewritten as negative 8 plus 2 over my common denominator, which is 3b. Now I'm going to continue to solve. Negative 8 plus 2 gives me negative 6 over 3b. And again, I want to look for the largest common factor between my numerator and my denominator. 6 and 3 are both divisible by 3. If I divide 3 by itself, that leaves me with 1. Negative 6 divided by 3 leaves me with a negative 2. When I rewrite this to give me my final answer, that becomes 2 over b. That's a negative 2. And it can be written as negative 2b. And that is lesson 5.2 on adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators.